Hello, everyone. I'm Talia Argandesi. I'm the director of the Center for Writing and Speaking at Ursinus College, and today we're going to be talking about writing your personal statement, which are sometimes called statements of purpose, for graduate school. And this is a generic informational video, so it includes whether you're applying for a master's program, a PhD program, med school, vet school, law school. This is just general information about personal statements and some strategies to write a good one. So the first thing to know before we start with our free writing exercises, just follow whatever directions you're given very carefully. The very first thing they're looking for in your personal statement is that you can follow directions and are capable of reading what they're asking you to do and executing it. So be careful about making sure you sort of do what they say in the personal statement. Whatever limit you're given, which is sometimes everyone shares the same word limit in a common application, or sometimes individual schools will have their own word limit. Try to get close to the limit, like don't go way under because that shows that you don't quite have enough to say. But also don't go over the limit for sure, stick to the limit, and don't include any extraneous information, any filler or any fluff just to get it to the word limit. So you're shooting for a lot of high content sentences that get you up to the close to the word limit. If you can't figure out what length they want the personal statement to be, you need to find out. So find a way to ask them because there always is some kind of implied word limit. You just have to find out what it is. If they ask specific questions, be sure to address them all in your personal statement. But often there are no specific questions asked. They'll just say to include a personal statement or a statement of purpose, or they'll say something very, very vague about like, tell us why you're applying. It's usually something very vague. So I'm going to let you know what they're really asking when they don't ask anything or when they ask something really vague. Here's what they really want you to say. They want you to show how much you want to do blank, whatever thing you're applying for, how much you want to be a PhD candidate, how much you want to be a master's student, or a lawyer, or a doctor, or a vet, or an occupational therapist, or a physician's assistant, or a physical therapist, whatever it is you're applying for. They want you to state clearly that you want to do it. They want you to sort of show your qualifications. They're deciding among applicants and they want to know why they should choose you. And so the purpose of your statement of purpose is to make it really clear what it is about you that makes you a desirable candidate. And they also just want to know what is unique about you. In a pile of applicants, a lot of applicants have a lot of similar qualities in their transcript or in their resume, but you can use the personal statement to show something about your uniqueness and your own personality. So, one thing to think about is like, what is life like for an admissions officer? Their job is to decide who is admitted into the program. One of their jobs is to decide who is admitted into the program. And so they read so many applications. They have a giant stack of them, and they're reading personal statement after personal statement. And a lot of them sound really similar. And what they're looking for from your personal statement is for them not to be bored. When they read the same thing over and over again, it doesn't sway them one way or another. It doesn't make them want you more or want you less. It just keeps you wherever you were. So the types of things that people say all the time in their personal statements are like this. I want to be a doctor because I love to help people. I want to study cultural anthropology because I'm interested in human societies. The things that are true of everyone who's applying for the same thing as you are not really worth saying in a personal statement because they don't distinguish you. So what's exciting to admissions officers who are reading these applications are just the small details that tell your story. Your small details don't necessarily have to be dramatic. The idea is not like you've had this extraordinary life that is so fascinating. You might, and that's awesome, and then you can put that in your personal statement. But it's actually just specificity and detail, no matter how sort of exciting your background is, that make your personal statement effective. So keeping all these things in mind, that's just some backdrop about what to think about as you're writing your personal statement. I'm going to walk you through a few pre-writing exercises. So you're going to need a notebook out or a word processing document open, whatever you usually write on. And I'm going to ask you to do a couple free writing exercises. So the purpose of these pre-writing exercises and this free writing is to just help you figure out what is unique and different about you. Because a lot of people think to themselves like, oh, there is nothing about me that's special. I don't know what to put in my personal statement. I'm going to help you find those things that are unique about you. So each slide is going to have 2 questions, and I'm going to ask you to pause the slide. Once I ask the 2 questions, I'm going to ask you to pause the video, get out your notebook or your Word document or whatever you're free writing on, and set a timer on your phone just for 5 minutes. Whatever comes into your mind when you read these 2 questions, just type it up as quickly as you can for 5 minutes. The only rule of the free write is that you don't stop writing at any point. Even when you run out of things to say, you just type, I've run out of things to say, and don't stop writing until your timer goes off. So the first thing to think about is your experience and your life history. Question 1 is, what specific things have happened to you that sparked your interest in the field you want to go into? And question 2 is, what do you like about the field you want to go into? So think about your life, your interests, pause the video, time yourself for 5 minutes, and just write whatever comes into your mind for 5 minutes and don't stop. So go ahead and actually pause the video and get some writing done. Okay, I'm assuming you've paused the video and you come back now and you're going to do the next question. The next set of questions are, what experiences, academic, that is in college classes or labs, work-related or personal, have shaped the way you think? So essentially, anything in your background that's happened to you that has affected your outlook on life, that's what you can write about now. Or also, what kind of scholar or lawyer or doctor or vet or OT or PT or PA do you want to be? And then why? And if you don't quite know yet, like what is your special area that you're going to be specializing in grad school, that's fine. You don't necessarily have to know that. But what areas of specialization are you considering and why are you considering them? So again, actually do pause your video, set your timer for 5 minutes, write for 5 minutes about whichever one of these questions most interest you. Go ahead and pause. Okay, I'm assuming you're back from your pause and you're ready for the next question, which is, when, literally and specifically, did you first start thinking about pursuing a graduate law or health professional degree? What happened that made you begin to consider grad school? So going back, it could be to when you were 4, it could be to when you were 17, it could be to 5 minutes ago, like whatever was the thing that sparked your interest in doing this. Where did this all begin? And then this last question is kind of like the inciting question for your personal statement in general. Imagine that every other applicant has the exact same qualifications as you. They are smart, they like studying, they like helping people, or they like the subject that you want to study. Why should a school accept you over other similarly qualified applicants? So whichever one of those 2 questions is sort of interesting to you, pause your video, free write for 5 minutes, write as much as you can for 5 minutes, and then unpause the video. Okay, I'm assuming you're back from your pause and you're ready for the next question. Okay, the next questions to consider are optional. Depending on the kind of program you're applying for, you might be applying on a common application that doesn't allow you to personalize your personal statement for particular colleges. If you are able to personalize your personal statement and make it specific to wherever you're applying to, I highly recommend that you do, particularly if they don't ask you supplemental questions about why you want to go there. So you might also consider what it is about the particular program that you're applying for that is particularly interesting or exciting to you. And this might take some research. Like you might need to find out, what do they specialize in? Why is it considered a prestigious program and things like that? You might need to find that out by Googling around, reading their website, talking to people there. So you could pause your You could pause your video right now and do a 5-minute free write on this, especially if it's relevant to your application, but you don't necessarily have to because you might be applying to a common program where you don't get to talk about those things. So these are the things that in your personal statement, depending on your situation, you might want to talk about. So if you are able to personalize the personal statement to each college that you're applying to, you would want to do all these things. You would want to mention anyone at your target school that you've corresponded with. And if you haven't corresponded with anyone at your target school, that should be on your to-do list. You should start doing that. You could mention anyone at the school whose research you've read, and same thing. If you haven't done that yet, start looking into who teaches in that program and what sorts of things have they published in their field. You can at least skim them and be familiar with what their areas of specialization are. Something that people like to do a lot in their personal statements is if you have overcome any particular hardships, you can talk about them in your personal statement. And you can also use your personal statement to put a positive spin on a negative aspect of your academic record. I'll talk about these two in the second part of the video later. But the common thing between both of them is either one of these you want to do extremely briefly. Whatever hardships that you've overcome, you want to show the positive of that, what you learned from it, or how you figured out how to get past it and how you're a better person for it. If you're still experiencing a hardship that might get in your way of performing well in grad school, then don't mention it. And then same thing, if there is something particular about your academic record that is easy to explain, like for example, you have a 4.0 except for one semester when something bad was happening to you, you can talk about that in the personal statement, but don't dwell on it. It can be a very brief mention. So for your activity to pause your video, if any of the 4 things that I mentioned to include on the left are relevant to you or your application, do a quick free write about how you might get that into your essay in an effective way. And then if none of these seem relevant to you, think about what you should do to sort of get a firmer handle on the specifics of your target schools, in particular the people who teach there and the sort of special things that the grad school is known for. In part 2, in the second video, we'll talk about writing strategies. But for now, that was just a sort of free writing preview of things to think about as you go through. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope to see you in part 2 of this video.